Welcome back to Brian's Beat. My thanks again to Shauna O'Connell for joining us on the program today, State Representative out of Taunton, as we talked about the Mashpee Wampanoags. It looks like they will be getting their casino, and they're going about it the correct way. Look at it from an economic development standpoint. You're going to have people going up there, and if we are smart, we being this area of New Bedford, we will be piggybacking and promoting our area up in Taunton, so people want to come down here. Now, I know somebody's going to say, well, we've got the Whaling Museum. Are we going to go down that road again? I think I had a conversation at one time with someone dealing with the Whaling Museum and how that could attract folks, or how folks that are gambling aren't going to want to do that. But we have other attractions. We have a waterfront, and we have a working waterfront. That can be very attractive. But don't start saying folks are going to want to come down and go into the Whaling Museum. For what? I asked that question, for what reason? If you're a gambler, okay, if you're a gambler, you're going to spend a weekend gambling. What is there that's going to twist you around to say, wait a minute, I think I want to check out the New Bedford Whaling Museum? Is there something that appealing? Now, look, I'm not dogging the Whaling Museum, okay? It is a fine specimen. It is a fine building. It is a bunch of bones. But as I've said before, it's a bunch of bones and a whole lot more. The tie-in, it's the tie-in. The tie-in doesn't fit. Maybe you think I'm wrong, and we've certainly brought this up in the program before. But I have to be honest with you. If you can prove me otherwise, if there is something that you want to prove to me today or some other day down the road that says, yes, you can tie in the Whaling Museum and gambling. Now, I know it's different because before we were talking about a casino basically right across the street. Well, now we're talking, what, 20 minutes away? Do you see the tie-in? I don't know. I would certainly love to hear from you in regards to this. 508-996-0500. What are you doing here? You gotta be kidding me. Wow. I have been had by the Hatter, as they say. Well, first of all, welcome to the studio. Please come up to the microphone. What are you doing here?
Hello, Brian. Are you causing trouble again?
We've got the head of the Whaling Museum sitting right here in studio. Oh, hey, man, thanks for your call. I appreciate it. James Russell, welcome. How you doing? Look, a long time ago, I invited you to come over here. So what were you doing? Just walking down the street? And...
I just happened to get a call, and Brian, good to be here. Thanks for having me on, and I see you're throwing a couple of bones up in the air again.
You know what? It is what it is, what it is. I'm going to say this. I've said it to you before, just to be clear about this. It is a bunch of bones, and a lot more. Is that fair enough?
You know...
No, it isn't.
Oh, well, it is fair if we say that it's a very special bunch of bones.
Well, okay. I don't know how many whale carcasses hang in different buildings. So, yes, they are special bones. Mm-hmm. Fair enough?
I think it's important to point out that there's no other institution in America that has 5 specimens of whales hanging. I had the good fortune to be in England recently, and I was at the National Gallery there, and the Natural History Museum, and they've got some beautiful specimens. But let's peak our peaks here, and this is our superlative for New Bedford. And let's embrace this legacy. And we talk about the past and we talk about the present. So you're right, we do use bones to attract people. And I would say that when you go to the Natural History Museum in New York and you look at the Tyrannosaurus Rex, well, what are you looking at? You're looking at a
bunch of
bag of bones,
Mm-hmm.
right? And we all know that there's great drama that's associated with that. And we all see the expressions on kids' and adults' faces when they come in and they look at these skeletons, whether it's a dinosaur or whether it's a whale or whatever the particular specimen is. And in that regard, it is magnificent, right? These are
it is. I can't argue that. Where my argument is coming from is the point that if I'm going gambling, and whether or not I'm taking my family with me, am I attracted to then want to go to a whaling museum or a museum of fine arts? Okay, so as not to just bang on the bone, so to speak.
Well, I think the reasons for people coming to New Bedford are varied. I think it's true to say that a lot of the people that come to our institution and other institutions in New Bedford, there are a lot of art and cultural institutions in New Bedford doing a great job. Roach Jones Duff House, look at the excitement of the New Bedford Historical Society and the good work that they're doing in the National Park. The cumulative effect of promoting cultural tourism does pay dividends. Look at the mom and pop stores around the area, and it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that it is the museums and the cultural institutions which are driving people into the area and keeping them into the area. It's interesting to note the stickers that are on people's shirts when you go to Freestones, or you go to Tia Maria's, or you go to Cork. And people are coming into town, they're staying, they're getting a cup of coffee, they're having lunch, they're going hopefully to the Marriott or Hampton Inn. And so there's an economic development component to cultural tourism, which is important, and I would argue it's growing. The number of people coming to the museum over the past couple of years has exceeded 100,000.
You had a record day.
Yes.
A few beginning of the summer, end of spring.
Great day. And that was a free event. It was Free Fun Fridays. It's a super idea which started in Boston, and they asked various locations, various cultural institutions to open up and provide free admission. And thousands of people came to the city. We actually didn't benefit, but people, certainly the restaurants and the establishments.
Well, you benefited by having people who walk through the museum. And speaking of free, if you don't mind me saying this, you have a free event coming up this weekend.
Big weekend for us, and it's in tandem with the Working Waterfront, which is a great event, a fabulous event, which is going to draw a lot of people to the downtown. We're opening up an education center. This is a private, by and large, 90% of the funds for this $8 million project came from individuals showing broad base of support for pushing educational attainment. So we're going to celebrate it on Saturday at 2 o'clock with a ribbon cutting. It's an open event. We're expecting hundreds of people. Brian, I know you'll be there. It'd be great to have the radio station there, and appreciate you promoting the effort. On Sunday, we're opening the museum up free to the public from 9 to 5. And to underscore, got a lot of gifts, a lot of raffles. I know that the education department, for instance, are handing out chance raffles to get yellow school buses to come to the museum. Anything to bring more students and more kids to the venue.
What is it's Waddle something?
So it's the Waddles Jacobs Education
That's
Center.
right. I see it out there. It has tied up Water Street for the past 2 to 3 months. What exactly is going to be in the Waddles Jacobs Education Center?
So it's educationally focused. It is a library. It's a reading room. It's classrooms. It's a media lab where we can do a lot of digital initiatives, related work. It's a conservation room. And very excited about this proposition. On the first floor, we're going to have a Discovery Center. We're going to open the space up. The Discovery Center itself will take a couple of months to fit out. And we think there's a need for there to be a place downtown for families and for younger audiences to come to the museum. And we have noticed, and you see it, of course, when you see little children come to the museum, the parents are always pulling the kids back. Don't touch.
You've got some expensive stuff in there.
Oh, and we all know the price of fine art these days. You're correct. It's valuable. It's also the cultural repository. It's the cultural patrimony of this region is preserved and protected by the museum. It's not a mission that it's not a story that's that exciting. However, if I were to say to you that a third of our annual expenses are directed towards protecting cultural assets, that is a fact. And indeed, that's one of the stated goals of this new center. So what we have is a new building. On the first floor will be a Discovery Center for younger audiences where they can touch and run around. Listeners will remember the forecastle, which was in the current part of the building, which is going to be relocated to that location. And he's a whaleboat for kids to climb in and out of, and a host of other interactive related activities. On the second floor, conservation labs, where one of the fabulous stories is the longest painting in America, and possibly one of the longest paintings in the world, is currently being conserved at the museum. It's going to take us about 3 years to do it. And we've received some national funding to get this done via the National Park Service. On the third floor, library and classroom spaces, and people can see what we're doing, and all our staff are going to be out and talking to people and describing what exactly happens. And then the Pièce de Résistance is going to be this magnificent fourth floor space. It's an assembly space when large groups of students come and we need to have an area for people who can gather, but it really is one of the great panoramic views of the harbor. And when you get up there, Brian, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. But you see the draggers, you see the scallopers, you see the boats bringing in cargo. You see all the activity that's taking place in the harbor. You see the pleasure boats. You're looking out over Fairhaven. You're looking out over the national park. It's an absolutely spectacular view.
That, what you have just explained, needs to, if we want to talk about how the Whaling Museum, and I think it's a lot more than that, needs to be identified, how you can bring people from a casino, what you have just described right there, more than the original space, present space, you'd start talking about that. Now you have a reason, a great reason, to pull those folks from Taunton to come down. You have, people are always looking for something to do with their children. Water park would be a good one. If they're going to go to a casino, water park is great. Now, you talk about what you just brought up with the new center, you've got it, okay? But the name needs to be more than just the Whaling Museum, if you know what I mean.
Well, I see what you're trying to bring me, but I'm not going to quite bite on that. We need to be careful, obviously, with the name. I think it's true to say, I think it's absolutely correct to say that the Whaling Museum may mean many things to different people. And how we move, how we describe ourselves is actually a branding and a marketing issue. And one of the big issues that nonprofits have is that we tend to allocate a lot of our funds towards programming, towards care and protection, educational programming. And marketing I'm talking about the business as a whole here, the industry as a whole, tends to get short shrift. And we have run a study over the past couple of years where we ask visitors, what do they think? Has the experience of the museum exceeded their expectations? Has it been on expectations, or is it below expectations? And we stopped doing the study because it was quickly apparent that visitors, their expectation was vastly exceeded. And that's because the space is absolutely fabulous. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous. We're very privileged.
You brought that up to me.
To be working there. The collections are absolutely fabulous. The facility staff does a wonderful job in maintaining the space. Our volunteers are always there to help people, and you see this on TripAdvisor where people write in and they specifically say, we had a great experience. People were there to help us. So we probably do need to do a better job at marketing, but it's an expensive proposition.
Oh, it is an expensive. What isn't expensive? You're spending $8 million for this whole center. I have said it many times. This darn project is tying up traffic. I can't get the motorhome across the street. But when all is said and done, like any other construction project, it usually looks great. And from what I can see, the facade on the outside, it's looking very, very well. So I thank you for popping in today to tell us about it. Once again, you're starting your ribbon cutting at 2 o'clock on Saturday.
2 o'clock. Folks should come get there a little bit before 2. We're expecting a good crowd. Then we're all going to go into the building. People can go throughout the entire campus, which is now taking over the entire block. There are now 22 galleries. 22 galleries. It's absolutely great what the curators have done. It all is going to look fabulous. The refreshments. It's obviously free. And then on Sunday, again, 9 to 5, and hopefully the downtown is going to be bustling. And that's what we want to do every weekend, 52 weekends a year.
And by the way, is the Whaling Museum open 7 days a week, or are there any days that you're closed?
We're open 7 days a week, except in January, February, and March. We close on Monday, but it's only because, for obvious reasons, that's a very slow time.
Okay, fair enough. And you don't want to get into the name change thing, do you? No, I know.
I'll stay away from that.
Fair enough. But you will agree with me that there is a lot more than whales.
On those bones, there's a lot of meat.
On those bones, you want to change it to that? That sounds like a good line, too. James Russell, I appreciate you coming in today.
Thanks.
Really, this has been fabulous. I love running into you. When you guys have me over there, you hog tie me, make sure I see this, make sure I see that. But everything that you show me is great.
Hey, thanks for stirring up controversy.
Listen, if that's what it takes sometimes, I appreciate it too. Take great care.
Take care, Brian.